it's worrying, but at the same time, even when Twisted Minds doesn't come out victorious, they still manage to rack up a ton of points. They got 11 kills in the previous one. Now they come out and get a second place here in this one too. So they might not come out with the wins, but they're racking up as many points as you almost possibly can without getting the wins to boot.
Yeah, 9 kills here for Na'Vi. Saga kind of secures them a spot in the 70-point club here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm at the point where I'm going to start suggesting the 70-point club isn't safe, but I'll tell you what, I'm not a million miles away from it either. But Na'Vi, again, like all they really need to do is continue to pick up a few points a game. They don't really need to go all the way to the end game. It is just the top 8 that we need, and they're going the right way about making sure it stays that way.
Yeah, with 3 games to go, Toby, it's 26 points from 9th place up to 7th right now. So it's kind of like it's a really good game, or it's 2 or 3 pretty decent games to catch in. So it could be a world where we're talking like a cutoff that's maybe 72, 73, 74.
At least have put themselves in a very solid position, and then the teams in the middle column is a lot of the contenders who need to stack up the points, and it just keeps making it closer and closer.
Right. qualifiers. We're going to be going into 3 Wrangle games, and right now it's only Twisted Minds that doesn't look too safe. So guys, take it away here to the grassy pastures.
Thank you. So that's where it's going to go down for the next 3 games as we once again take to the battlefield. And we saw a bit of commotion in the previous game between Howl and Solo that we didn't see yesterday. Now I'm starting to think, are we going to see any fighting here? Are we going to see FaZe get chased down by Na'Vi? Well, with this playing path we sure won't, but would this be the time now where some of those teams, Saga, that are already solidified in the top maybe start trying to force teams into low bracket, or is it just not worth the risk?
There's definitely some high-value targets that are still looking to chase. I mean, the likes of Foot Esports probably will have a bit of a bounty on their heads coming into this one. Maybe not so much to the point where anyone's going to hot drop and risk their game based on it, but if you see that Foot is fighting close to you, you may well want to send someone out to look for a third party and just make sure that they do have to make the lower bracket run where, who knows, anything could happen.
Now, I like to think you're a pretty good analytical mind of PUBG. You follow a lot of the different regions and stay kind of up to date on most things PUBG. I have a question for you. Do you think, with how, I mean, think of 2018, 2019 PUBG, where we at the time thought that was the best PUBG could be in terms of the meta, in terms of what teams did and how they rotated and whatnot. Do you think we are at peak PUBG in terms of the meta, in terms of how teams play, or is there still things to be done? Are there still new things to be found, like new ways to do things in PUBG that we've still yet to figure out?
Even if we bar the addition of new maps and...
well, of course, those are always going to change things, but just overall skill and like game mechanical level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much variation, so many variables, and so much adaptability that has to come through that, you know, if you are a team like Twisted Minds who was pioneering some crazy strats like Batulin's up on those rocks, everyone's doing that now. Back in the early days, Ents was the ones pioneering playing from the edge and like making these wild, crazy rotation sends, and a lot of teams, that is kind of their identity now. Ascend typically being one of them, but this time they're just straight down the middle, so they'll be more than happy. A little bit of adaptability on show right there, so I suppose by the end of this game we'll find out whether or not it's good to switch things up every now and then.
Now, you're really politically correct, but I'm going to call you out on it. You didn't answer my question.
True.
Do you think we're at peak PUBG performance level now?
I'll tell you what.
Or is there a level we have yet to unlock? Maybe a level we don't even know what is before we see it happen.
See, that's why it's so impossible to not be political, because if we don't know what
you just got to go, what is your Saga's gut?
I'll tell you what. We've had both NA and EMEA win a global championship. So, I mean, have we really hit the peak unless we see APAC get a dub as well?
Oh, wow. Wow. So, that's where we took it.
You told me no APAC.
That is where we took it. Okay. I thought you were going to do it. If NA can win it, everyone can win it sort of joke. But
no, but okay. We peaked in 2017 in that case.
Wow. Okay. A lot of memes coming in here. It's fair enough. But you know what? I think in all fairness, I think APAC is bound to get a win of some kind eventually. They've won a place in our hearts. That's a place to start. But they aren't. I don't think they're far from global. Not necessarily dominance, but
competitiveness.
The thing is, now we're getting more and more of the same players, the same teams from APAC, like return time and time again to these global events. And I feel like where in the beginning, pedal to the metal, YOLO, let's see what happens, when they figured out that didn't work, they still now keep that same aggressive mindset, but kind of fit it more into the, let's call it the global lobby playstyle of PUBG. I feel like APAC, it's just a matter of putting a couple of good games together in the grand finals, and that first place ain't impossible to find.
Nice. As you say,
that's what I'll give you. That's what I'll give you, the number one APAC fan. There you go.
Won a place in the hearts of many, but my Cerberus jersey still has a place in your drawers somewhere in your house. I'll start to get that
collecting dust. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a VSS would be pretty embarrassing to get knocked by, wouldn't it, Senderlost? Find that out the hard way. Kill Yakai will get it done with whatever he has to be forced to put bullets down range. It's more than enough for that man. Absolute fragging machine. And Yeppa, tails between their legs, are going to have to smoke up for the revive, and at the hands of a 9mm DMR, it's not ideal.
What does Ascent do with this knock, though? I'm kind of curious, Yvonne. I think Braxco was trying to wrap further around, but kind of fell into the ditch.
Oh, they're pushing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I thought he was going to wrap on it, but then he kind of crashed into the ditch and maybe couldn't really time his escape out of it. But again, Ascent, nothing to lose here. Set at 71 currently. Might as well see if they can claim more, but luckily with a... oh, no, I'll say that too soon, because there was a tree there. And okay, we're safe. Get away from that, Apex. We're trying to talk about Apex here. Don't make things exciting early on.
Yeah, they gave it... Well, yeah. We have to...
Wouldn't that be the Apex way, though? Making things exciting early on. Yeah.
Maintain the reputation as the disciplined region where we have 64 players alive in Phase 5 out here, for sure. Batulin's... Oh, I don't know. He might be looking to switch things up a little bit as well, or be switched up on. Doesn't seem to be aware that T-Bone is creeping, despite the fact that he's up on a rock. He's doing some scouting. But maybe that gives it away. If Bard's putting shots in close range, they know that something's up. And Solo... Oh, man, they're just not having the best of days, are they?
They are just looking lost. I mean... And the reason I feel like I have the... Okay, AC, you don't have to do them like that. That's... Okay. You know what? If those are the shots you're gonna hit, Solo, I am not even gonna fall. You know, this was not embarrassing, but this was tough enough. I mean, stop punching them. They're already dead, so sort of. I'm not gonna punch them anymore. Solo, come back strong the next 2 games. I believe in you. All the brutal honesty that I was gonna give you now, I mean, 8 just made that completely unnecessary.
Yeah, he really just get out of jail free card by just spraying him down with fresh days from that kind of range. But T-Bone creeping up onto Everest was eventually sniffed out, and Twisted Minds ain't having any of it. But the rest of Foot is actually already ascending their way above them.
Wow.
And Twisted Minds isn't aware of this. This could be a big problem. Oh, there you go. A spray. They are in fact aware of this, and the grenades uphill is going to be difficult.
Well, but they're going to be close.
Almost.
And you'd have to imagine that... I was going to say Foot stays. I mean, I don't see a reason why they leave. Yes, they lose T-Bone, but... No, okay, with that, I was going to say if they peak that same position, it's worth sticking around for, but now that they've given it up, might as well just run off. At least up to the next level. Now they kind of put the next decision to be made in the hands of Twisted Minds and go, if you really want to push through this open field, you're more than welcome, but... We'll stick around. You didn't see it, but AC is like, I just hit a pretty good shot at 300 meters. So come at me if you wanna. I'm ready for it. My Ace 32 with a suppressor on it and a red dot hits those headshots at any range. And apparently
he hits body shots as well.
And apparently the Mosin ain't really too bad either.
There's some third-partying shots from Gatka at the hands of DA that was making it a little awkward for Foot to be maybe as aggressive as they were hoping to be, making full optimal use of the high ground. So they will be forced to just settle for turning Twisted Minds back the other way and claiming Everest for themselves. And that will just have to do.
In the meantime now, BBL heard the commotion, don't really want any part of it, might as well just wrap around here again with 4th place, 71 points. It looks good, but they are 1 point ahead of 7th, and with how we've had some of these like on the cusp teams just continue to rack up wins today, I'm sure Na'Vi, Twisted Minds, Exalt, I still have my hopes up for After All yet. I just haven't seen enough from them, but Foot might be able to do something despite the fact that they've lost T-Bone here too. I still don't know if 71 points is going to cut it.
It's going to be extremely tight for sure. It would require maybe After All or Exalt or Foot to have a massive Erangel performance to round us out to dislodge any of those teams on 70+, but it could still happen. And Tropic, almost walked into a bit of a trap. Lazar loses a couple of shots before Ruin gets in a position where he can contribute as well. But the Mad is actually going to force Ivas back, and Ruin does manage to spring the trap this time.
Why does Ivas opt to stay when Naylor sat that far down below and the rest of the players are leaving? I think he might just have been caught in a weird position where he wanted to get into the car but saw the shots being fired towards him, and then he was like, you know what, I'm not going to get out of it, might as well see if I can get a knock, and that way we can maybe re-engage on this. Circle towards Chopsticks, towards Gatka. It's going to be a field ending. We just talked about, endings and no cover on take, or la-di-di-la-di-da. Well, look at everything between Ascent, Smoke Wall, and DA, and tell me that you have cover there. Also, thank you, Mexi, for looking at the plane, because there's the player flying in it. It seems, again.
Oh, always good to check. Yeah, FaZe Clan was sort of setting themselves up for this coordinated push, James being the scout from up above. He should be able to regroup up with the rest of the squad on the ground. Saw a bit of an early potential move from DA. They saw the zone. They immediately turned back around and went back to Gatka to hold down that position. Smoke Wall not quite so fortunate, but they do have Kasu holding down the Wizard Tower, and he scouted out a free spot just ahead of Ascend, so the rest of the team has made a push in that direction, and thankfully FaZe doesn't have them in the line of sight. It's going to be Exalt, but that's a big pre-nade.
Yeah, really well timed. One through the building, one off the side of it. Correxy nowhere to run in response to that one, and now one falls down, but still three very potent players to face over here, ready and waiting. Issue now becomes that Na'Vi off the side want a piece of this action too.
You really can't be feeding kills to Exalt right now. That's one of the teams that is dangerously close, but they're going to absolutely demolish FaZe without even conceding a knock of their own. But, well, immediately, as soon as the fight is over, Na'Vi are here to put their own little spin on things, but they're not going to overcommit. They know that this fight is over, that it's not a third party anymore, it's just a straight-up push, and they don't want it.
And that's one of the worrying parts of the emergency pickup, right? Because they fly on in, they scout forward, they send it center with little to no info, and then I know 3 of them come via vehicles, but there's no chance for James to really scout anything. And even if they hadn't heard the vehicles, they see James parachute down, and they go, well, they're probably going for this particular spot, and Exalt just ready to respond. Also just, I guess, unlucky timing in that Exalt were just 5 seconds ahead of them on that rotation.
Very little now that a team like Exalt can make really work in their favor in terms of getting more kills on the board. They have like Na'Vi just to their west, Ascend north of them. Neither of them ideal in terms of pushing for kills, so just gonna have to wait and be patient, hope the zone favors them. That's really all they've got for now, unless it does come down to a crazy send if they're forced to make a play to try and get some points on the board to close the gap to Twisted Minds. Not ideal, especially given Twisted Minds' position. If the zone favors them up towards just the southern foot of Everest, they're in a prime real estate to stack them up this game.
For the viewers that don't get why people are running around just desperately looting in the middle of the blue, that's usually because they're looking for emergency pickup. They don't want to have to drive through everything that, after all, is currently looking to have to go through. Guys, just find a freaking emergency pickup. We need to get to the circle in a different fashion than buy vehicles. And unluckily for them, seems like with them going back into the cars, they did not manage to find one. In the meantime, Howl on the southern side, able to wrap around, wait this next one out for another 7 seconds until the third circle pops.
Headshot with a bolt action, and Solo's unfortunate spree continues as it's immediately finished off by another party entirely. It's Smash up on the high ground. We'll take it out. Priel is the last man standing. Na'Vi, of course, didn't need to do any extra looting. They had an emergency parachute with them. Now the question is, where will it take them? It is a bit of a juicy 2-2 split, but no one really can tell that from the air. But
yeah,
the Woo would have been vulnerable to an aggressive play, and Solo's trying to make a play for the ball himself, but Na'Vi gets there first. Surely he's seen that, otherwise he's just going to drive straight into a blender.
Yep, into the pit they go. As they get to safety, Priel will have to continue further forward and flip. And that's where his journey ends. Not able to go any further forward now. He's going to have to sit tight and wait this one out as a solo player left on the team. Brackscope runs on up, wants to clear the dip altogether, and this one should be, oh my lord, perfect.
Yep, where's BBL going?
to say hello to Navi. Millman finds one, finds two. Rustabout did find one, and Michael goes across. Does he just go down into it now and concedes it? Yeah, he does. And somehow Navi only got one kill from that. Everyone out here feasting.
Oh yeah. Well, from riches to rags for BBL after a massively successful Tego. This time the bowl was not free, and I mean, again, we've already talked about how this zone has pretty much nothing to offer for cover if you're not already in one of these positions. And you know, while Navi does only get the one kill point on the board, it's enough to keep them alive. All four standing, they'll be okay with that for sure. And there's still plenty of other teams around the edge of the zone that are eventually going to have to do something very similar to what we've just seen from BBL, and just hope that it goes better for them.
Just think about all the nades they just got themselves for late game smokes as well. I mean, they're going to be pretty satisfied with the extra loot they have been delivered. In the meantime, teams have still yet to really make a proper decision, I suppose, on where to approach this one from. But then again, when you're out on the edge, waiting for the next circle to pop still, they ain't really in much of a hurry. And Tropic lost Ibis earlier, so they're going to play this one a bit slower, as we've come to know them, I should say, in their more passive early approach. Question Mark in the meantime trying to fend off here against Exalt. Maybe it's the other way around. Question Mark wants to get a foot in the circle, but Exalt ain't making it easy for them.
Again, the alternative route for Question Mark is to play the fields, which, I mean, you can probably lurk on the southwestern side of the field, out of the vision of Smoke Wall and out of the vision of DA, but if you leave Exalt the freedom to play this entire hilltop, they're going to be the ones that cause the problems. So the direct approach for Question Mark, it will have to be, and again, they're in a position where they're more than happy to do that. They've got very little to lose in this overall upper bracket series, whereas Exalt, they have everything on the line. Everything's riding on this fight for them.
Yeah, well, Howl needs points, Yepa needs points, Wu needs points. They just got themselves a gift of a circle, and now Navi, well, they've just dislodged BBL. This time around, Apple trying to come and say hello, but Navi once again fending teams off. Mika does manage to get a knock onto Uber, but shouldn't be too much of a concern. What is concerning, though, is that Enon is currently upside down, and I don't think he's bound for this world. Nope, gets knocked. Points going over to Wu here. Much needed points for the team.
There's always a re-breach possibility. Oh, what is that spray? Mika just deletes too. As DA just flies past, looks like they're chasing down. They want the same shack as Danimon, but they're going to meet pretty much the same fate as they go for it.
You'd have to imagine in the meantime now, the fight between Question Mark and Exalt had to happen eventually, and once Question Mark engaged, well, Exalt couldn't really do a whole lot about it. Fate forced to make the runoff. Maybe he sticks around for a bit. Nah, already on the 3-seater, trying to get out of this position as fast as the vehicles were allowed.
That's not very fast on a 3-seater. It's a bit awkward to... Oh, okay, well, this might be a little better. Little more difficult to shoot you out from, but that generally isn't an issue for most of the players in this lobby. What will be an issue is, like, where do you even go? Like, the shack is occupied, the spot next to the shack is occupied, all by solos. Fate's running out of options, but Howl all the way to the east, just trying to defend against Foot. This is a big fight if they can win it.
Yeah. Sure is. They get the knock on T-Bone. Oh, they get the knock on Beamy. T-Bone fell down earlier. So just two on their feet to try and fend off here, Vard. Going off the rest for a second. Maybe with the smoke deployed. Oh, perfect. He's at least going to find Lash. Indeed he will. Ruin down to half HP as well. It's going to force him to run off.
I think he heard the step as Ruin was approaching, and then Ruin changed his mind and went back to try and grab Laza before he bled out, but no chance to do so with the grenade placed where it was. Now Foot is actually back to 3. They have the numbers advantage over Howl. Looking to isolate. Schofield holding the rock, but he just gets demolished. The spray from Vard is just that little bit better, and it's all it takes. Ruin, last man standing, 1 versus 3. No support, no third parties.
H has just fully embraced the suppressed Ace 32. I'm all for it. Maybe that's the meta. Maybe that's the evolving of PUBG that we have yet to see. The AR suppressed as the main selection. We'll see now. Vard looking for Snakes. Ruin down to very, very, very little HP, and Beamy will be the one to find him. Then down they go, and Foot again, very needed points here, able to rack up a few extra.
so many teams that need those points, and it's just not working out for them. Howl dropped out again. Exalt dropped out again. After all, down to just a solo in a shack. It's not ideal. It's far from it. Howl, I mean, Foot at the very least, still with 3 standing and an okay spot in the newly popped zone. 5 kills on the board already, but it's Twisted Minds that are actually wrapping around the north to the eastern side of the zone that are going to be the next threat, and that is the prime real estate target for Foot Esports. They have to wipe them out. They have a great opportunity to do so.
They sure do. Sparrow thrown down, getting boosted on Others. Perfectix holds the line. 200 he is grabbing. I think Sparrow just saw him. Yes, indeed, he did. Perfectix able to swing on him. Bardo instantly there in return takes one down of his own.
Spotted Lou holding the angle from the back line, but what cover is there? Not a dang thing through the trees. And the shots will go, and they have forced a bit of a stalemate. They will both go back and grab the revives each. 8C just holding down, making sure Lou doesn't try anything silly as Perfectix gets a little bit of a medivac to a safer place out of grenade range for the revive to come through. And it will just be a reset on the fight. Mexi, maybe watching the Wu make a move out of their compound, might be tempted to push up and look for a third party, but time being, he's more than happy where he is.
Yeah. In the meantime, Smoke Wolf just cannot get anything going. I mean, whatsoever. They're having a hard time and time again. Whenever they finally end up fighting, there's 3 teams shooting at him, and down they go once more. 10th place is where they fall. In the meantime, Na'Vi now taking the fight to Ascent. They had to do it eventually. The victors of the gutters would have to be found, and this time around, it's going to be Ascent once more. 10 kills as they continue for them. Wu as well, able to take out Danim on the last player for After All. So more points being racked up here by the team Sonida.
2 points is the total for After All. It's not enough to close the gap onto Twisted Minds. They've only got 2 chances left to try and do it, but Foot Esports are more direct, but he can't get more direct than that from a doozy. Full send, slams himself into the wall, but he can trust in Bestalok to get the trade.
Let's see if they can fend off. Yeah, but that is, with Medibay down already. Odin jumping for info, knowing there's some knock play on the other side, knowing they had one just before. Bestalok fends this off on his own. We've seen him play phenomenal Pubg, but it ain't gonna be enough as Voldemort wraps around, finds him, and maybe, just maybe, 32 points currently, this can be the change of momentum that Yevon needs in order to make a not impossible, but a difficult ascent to top 8 with only 2 games left to play after this one.
Yeah, I mean, from this point, you're what, 25-ish points behind with about 2 and a bit games left to go. It's doable, but it will be a struggle. Wu, oh man, they are struggling themselves now. They made the push onto the shack, but now there's 4 targets to look for. And Ascend are creeping forwards with a smoke wall of their own. Entropic in a better position to just punish the Wu. But up on the high ground, it's Twisted Minds once again that are stacking up the points. As soon as this team gets given an opportunity to farm from high ground, they're going to take it, and it's always going to be lucrative.
Yep. Let's see now, Kiliakai, deploy full shield to work with, but not a whole lot outside of that. Blue is going to be closing in real soon as well, as I think his days are going to be counted. In the meantime, Yeba finally flexing out of the compound, knowing they have full circle control. Might as well get up on those ridge lines and see what they can get here.
Wu did, at the very least, manage to get back to Sword Strong, and Kiliakai is under a lot of pressure from Odin Mavis. He can't quite land the final shot, but that's a solid wall of angry eyeballs staring at him from that shack, and it doesn't look like Ascend will be making too many moves further into this game, but yeah, I mean, you can't complain. Top 6 and 10 kills, they're already well into the safe spot. They'll be happy with that, I'm sure. But this little tease of this engagement to come through. There was a trade before, and everyone fell back and reset. Nobody wants to get over aggressive, but Foot, they have to clean up Twisted Minds. They have to get more points than them from this game. It has to happen eventually, but it won't happen before Kiliakai gets cleaned up.
Nice little flick around the other side of the tree. Stevie there takes out Kiliakai, and now Entropic trying to make this cross on through for Wu that much harder. Not a whole lot of cover for him to work with, but with no one in the hills really doing damage towards him. Looking much more possible. Entropic continuing to do damage now. This time around it's onto Twisted Minds as they try to make their way on closer. If one nade lands, if this vehicle blows, that could just be all of Entropic down as Mex is the next to fall.
Counter-nade has come back. Nailov playing inside the shack will survive a little longer. The Molotovs won't do the damage required, and that smoke really being the only thing that's keeping Entropic alive right now. The line of sight from the Wu, if they could see through the smokes, he would be doomed, but he's doomed anyway. The grenade will absolutely put him in the bin, and Lu will claim 2 additional points, and the gap again between themselves and Foot increases.
Yeah, a lot of help coming through here from Entropic in kind of preventing Wu to get a better foothold in the circle. The issue for them is they've forgotten about Foot up above, and Spiro is going to be the first one to feel the pain from that.
No lethal utility for 8C. Would be fantastic if you could just toss a grenade down there. Would be a perfect funnel directly onto the vehicle, but just does not have one available. He's running pretty low on ammo as well to look to try and get the spray down. Beamy has an AWM in hand again, and earlier on that thing was absolutely slapping, but even if it can get them with a win here, Twisted Minds have farmed plenty of points that the gap is still going to be more than negligible. A couple of games left to go. There's still a lot that rides on particularly 2 of these 3 remaining teams, but we can't discount the game that Yepper has had. A top 3 and 7 kills. Huge for them. But unfortunately, the team that is the 8th place cutoff is still alive and still stacking up points alongside them.
Yep. Beamy with the Orm in hand. We've seen him do really, really big things before, but so far, only 99 damage on this game. We want to hear that Orm sing, Beamy. We need much more damage out of that weapon when it's in your hands. He was one of the for a while where no one was playing bolt actions. Beamy was one of the few that actually stuck with it. So expecting to see him land some good shots here in the final moments of this one.
He's got whatever semblance of high ground you could really call it.
Yeah.
That remains in this zone that they have to try and put to some use. Twisted Minds cover is sparse for sure, but the rocks will work. The ridges not so much maybe for Perfectix, but it's getting the job done for now. He's managed to creep himself close up to the compound of Yepper. First sort of probing flashbang grenades to clear some angles. Won't find any targets. They are playing extremely passively in the buildings themselves, holding down a fortress, not giving any opportunities.
It is pretty wild when you think about how today's games have unfolded, how much we've been out in the open. Now, I know that the Tego game technically finished in and around the city, but everything that led to that was very open. We had the Miramar ending out in the fields, and this one as well. I mean, once you circle around Chopsticks Phase 2 and then just keep kind of going into that area with the circles to come, it's pretty insane. And it also has given us end games with very few teams alive compared to kind of the flow that we're normally working with in competitive PUBG. So fun for variety, but for players here, of course, very, very difficult to maneuver.
Yeah, very stressful, but somehow it still worked out with the leaderboard being in the state that it currently is, with every single game being picked up by a team that was on the cusp of top 8 and is now way to plus points. And it looks like we're here as well.
It's pretty much guaranteed to happen, regardless of which of these 3 teams are victorious. We'll see here as Vart continues to keep, or try to at least keep this top floor of the barn on lockdown. Don't want to have to make a move further forward just yet. I know once they clear this ridge line, they're going to be in full vision to Yepper all the way down to, well, really that tree, which even then won't have a lot of cover. And I think Twisted Minds knows as well that Foot is going to be the next team to have to make a move. Might as well see if we can take the fight to them without Yepper being able to kind of third-party us.
Horrible catch-22 situation for Twisted Minds, because the last thing that they want is to give the kills to Foot and have them win the game, closing the gap and putting them in danger of being the team that's sent down into the lower bracket by the end of the day. But they can't commit to making the push up towards them to flush Foot out from that position because of the position of Yepper, and vice versa. They can't push Yepper because of where Foot is positioned, so they really just have to sit back, be patient, and hope that Beamy can put that AWM to some solid use and start the fight between themselves and Yepper and open an opportunity for Twisted Minds to maybe do something.
I like that Twisted Minds wrapped around the northern side of this one, though, because they know that there's only really one proper way that Yepper can get out of this compound, that is wrapping left around, essentially over towards where Twisted Minds now is. So set up the potential gatekeep or prevention from them crossing forward before the plays even started. In the meantime, BB wrapping down the other way is effectively just forcing, well, Yepa really to be the first team to have to make a play, hence the team that has to leave the compound.
This was exactly what Twisted Minds were hoping for as well. Foot have committed down into a position where the only team that they can really take a fight against is Yepa, and Twisted Minds can then sweep through and look to clean up whoever survives, or maybe both at the same time. Denderlost on the roof. Needs to be a little cautious because Perfectix has crept his way up to a decent position with a bit of elevation. Could just peek up over the top, and a headshot or two might just kick off the fight in earnest, but Amy for now just seems to be happy to lurk with his head down in the dip. He does have plenty of grenades that, if he gets close enough, if Yepa start being forced out of this compound up against that wire fence, they're going to be bombarded.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that they aren't long for the win if that's where they're ending up sitting. On the other, like, the flip side of that is, though, what else can they do? I mean, there's not really a whole lot they can actively do to try and force a fight between Twisted Minds and the Foot Esports the way they're currently positioned. So I think Yepa just kind of have to not concede, but accept the fact that either this is going to happen, that they're going to get naded, or they would have had to try and make the wrap onto Foot Esports earlier, which would have probably led to their death anyway.
Perfectix got spotted out on the high ground and dealt with, so that's the off angle that could have been a big problem for Foot Esports, taken care of early on into the engagement, and being close to distance. He had 3 nades and 2 Molotovs, and they're good. Lou, last man standing with it all to do. This was worst case scenario for Twisted Minds, but it comes to pass.
Able to find one, there comes the second, and just like that, yet another team that desperately needed the win comes out victorious. Now just 10 points behind Twisted Minds, up there in 8th. But they ain't done fighting yet, Saga.
They really are not, but the big issue again, Twisted Minds just being the team to make it in second place and matching the frags every step of the way. This is probably the first time today that we've seen a team who was close to the top 8 pick up a win and not immediately be in the top 8, the safety of going directly to the grand finals. But Twisted Minds has just been keeping up the pace the entire time and making it really difficult for Foot to catch up.
Yeah, but that's still going to be worrying for all the teams that are currently set up in that top 8, right? Because they're just allowing more and more teams to get, like, to make the final 2 games that much more close. It's really going to be a nail bite all the way down, and else I feel like Pubg at this point always is.
Yeah, that's one game that knows how to raise the tension in just about every situation. And I'm pretty sure yesterday you and James were talking, is it going to come down to the final game? I will tell you, your answer was yes, and it's looking like you might just have been right.
Especially with both Foot and Twisted racking up points here. I mean, Martin, this one is getting as close as it always gets.
Yeah, welcome back to the PTS2 EMEA qualifier desk here, guys. Thanks for an amazing cast. And what a game here. It couldn't be the more of the 2 perfect teams, Saga, to fight this last one out. But still, there's 2 more games to go here. If one of the teams gets a great run for the next one of the other teams are going to be chasing here. But Foot taking it home.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Again, Foot was a team that looked so dominant earlier on this year, but just hasn't been able to match it so far in this event. This might have been the first sign of a sparkle in their eye, but Twisted Minds, man, just that devious glint, just keeping them at arm's length for the time being. 2 more games to try and change that.
Yeah, and smart pushes with both. Also utilizing, putting a knock player in, pushing Entropic here. Toby worked out really well with Twisted Minds to get them into the deepest stages of the late game.
It's interesting because it's an area of the map that we've had games finish in 1 trillion times before, but it just doesn't make it any easier. We always see these, like, tons of fights happening throughout the game because of how open the terrain is, and it's so difficult, if not near impossible, to consistently be good in this area of the map because of how much things change every single time. But the fact that Twisted Minds get up on the Pachinki Hill and then get to push down and survive for as long as they did, that's not something you usually see teams manage to do for as long. Similar fashion and how Foot Esports approach it. Not oftentimes you see those 2 teams be the ones out victorious.
You'd also see during this late game here with Yepa still being alive, Saga, that they locked down that barn. They knew that was kind of the last play that Yepa could potentially open up, and then once it was out and they make the smoke path, they just ran for it, and it got so much more terrain and control that they did in this late game there.
Yeah, it was a big move, actually, and earlier on when there was that hint of an engagement between Twisted Minds and Foot, and we were sort of questioning, should they have committed, should they have made that play, wiped out Twisted Minds earlier, probably would have come at the cost of at least one player as Beamy was caught out on the flank, and maybe then they wouldn't have gone on to win the game. There's a whole lot of questions and butterfly effect situations, but I mean, when all said and done, the gap has closed, but not by a significant margin. So Foot Esports, they made some progress, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, the question is, can they hold down or try to catch up to a Day2 Twisted Minds here, Toby?
I mean, even if they can't, there's with how Twisted Minds are currently playing, they're probably going to surpass a team or two, and then it doesn't matter that they haven't caught Twisted Minds. They have caught top 8. They have caught all the teams. They've mitigated the gap that they have to in order to make their way up there. So I don't really care what team they're hunting. They're hunting top 8 as a whole, and right now they're just outside it.
Yeah, and the big question is, if Twisted Minds and Foot continue to have this momentum here going, it could be the next team that is going up. And as we saw before the game started, we pointed out, it's literally 6 teams that was within a 5-point cushion from second place down to 7th. So there's still a lot of teams that are not safe yet here, Saga.
I mean, Twisted Minds is now only 4 points behind Digital Athletics, so when we say that Foot Esports is 10 points away from the top 8, they're about 20 points away from the top 3. So it really has been a massive turnaround for them, and it just continues this trend of teams just putting their names in the hat. And not to brag or anything, but we've seen what Foot Esports has built in Istanbul, that team house. This is a team with ambition, a floor-to-ceiling trophy cabinet that they want to fill. So Foot Esports is going to be making a huge run, all effort in the final couple of games.
Yeah, and here we see the leaderboard, of course, for this match leaderboard, as we pointed out, 19 points for Foot, Twisted Minds 14, Jeppe also with another good performance here of 12. Doubt that it's going to be enough. Ascent, though, to put themselves even better position here, 12 points, they're going to be 100% guaranteed. And a good showing from Wu here, Toby, with 10.
Yeah, I mean, finally getting some things going again. Circles went in their direction, but it's always hard to play that position, especially when you have to move out of it. But able to stay alive for as long as it did. Really, really impressive performance from Rue. Still a long run to the 70-point club, which is now where the cutoff is for Rue, though, down at 32.
Yeah, really close leaderboard as you see it here. All the teams, I would say, at 77 plus, that's going to be definitely guaranteed safe for them. There's a big doubt in me that we're going to see 2 teams from the bottom half now catch it. I think the Foot roster now is the last team that my eyes are on to maybe take over Twisted Mind or push out, DA or BBL if they have a really, really bad set of games here for the next 2 Saga.
Yeah, it could well be. And I think the fact that teams that were dominant in day 1, the likes of Question Mark, FaZe, and Tropic, haven't really lived up to that same level on day number 2. I mean, Question Mark, it's not been a bad day by any stretch, but they're sort of averaging around 5 to 6 points per game today, which is nowhere near as dominant as it was in day 1. Those other points are now being distributed across the board, and that's exactly why we're seeing things in the current state that they are.
And the big game plan for the next teams here, Toby, that are in the top, that currently are in +8, they just need to get a few points here. We're talking 2-3 points for the next 2 games, and they should be safe.
Yeah, it's going to be very close, but I also feel like whenever it's we need 20 points, teams tend to come out and get it. When it's, we just need 1 point, guys, it's fine. They got in 16th without a single kill. So hopefully for those teams currently set in, I want to say like top 5 territory, they can get that a little bit extra, but there are also those teams currently on the hunt that if history is to be repeated, will come out swinging in the final 2 games.
We've seen another tournament as well where BBL, they were looking good, and then on the last day they get pushed out by some teams that are doing extremely good here, Zaga.
I think it's very fair to say that any of the teams that are particularly towards the lower end of the top 8 as it stands do have need to be concerned about the teams that are looking to close the gap, but it's also probably fair to say that all of them are going to be safe regardless of who goes through to the lower bracket. I mean, with how tight it is for teams at the top, with 10, 11 teams all contesting for these spots, there's surely no way that things can go that disastrously wrong in tomorrow's matches, right?
It definitely feels like we have like 9-10 teams that are going to be very consistent once we get to the grand final. It definitely feels like these 9-10 teams, including Exalt maybe with the 10, Toby, that's going to be the teams that are going to be dominating the finals too.
And to add to that only, I mean, of course, depending on how many of the GBT teams make top 2, but to add to that only top 2 makes into PGS 2, that is, I mean, That is a very, very small amount of space for a whole hell of a lot of teams trying to prove that they're capable of bringing that home.
Yeah, that would currently be Question Mark and Entropic if that was the case, or I guess that's when, without calculating the extra points there, but FaZe would actually be in there and pushing that down, so that would be top 3. Yep. And I was talking a little bit about it with Kovo actually, and he's like, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see one of the GPC teams in the top. I feel like they, especially with what we know Na'Vi is capable of, but also with what FaZe has been showing us so far. But guys, that is 2 more games to go here. We are full way through out of the 6 today. It's going to be Wrangle for the next few ones. We're going to take a short break before we get ready and get started with the penultimate game of the day here. So see you then after the short break.
All of that, I mean, they jumped from roof to roof. That was the advantage of having that big vert nade. Will they be able to take him here? It goes a little far. Wait, yeah.
Wow. Takes a little longer for it to spread, and they're just exactly in it. Just exactly in it. Priel with his
was able to pick up a bit of that up too. So now Entropic actually got not too bad at compounds. Exalt getting absolutely slammed here against all of these nades coming on. BBL trying to do some big damage against them. Molotov goes down as well. That'll be a finish off on someone. No, actually, behind something.
Michael doesn't have the orbit, and yet he's just going full aggro mode. I like it. Finds one more knock now as well. Not sure what Exalt was expecting. I mean, everyone knew where they were once they started shooting at the mid-air, and they've just kind of thrown it down in a dip. Now they're getting help from up above as Lookerbook is able to take out Michael on approach, and now, I mean, FaZe, they're just enjoying all of this. Oh, a third player opportunity. We'll take that for free. Mike, I'm not sure if that's going to help a whole lot, but they have 3 FaZe players currently going without vehicles or weapons, and there you go. One right, one, but no, the run over instantly after, and he gets gun picks. Sorvex, does he get to go away from it? No, he doesn't. No. You can see only now is coming over the ridge line to help out. He was far away from the team, but now able to regroup and get back together. Teams does manage to find one, gets the second one as well, as it turns on to Lou.
Batulins looking for an opportunity here. A nade might come on through here from Batulins. Likewise, James realizes where Skuro is. Sends a nade on the way over towards that car. Does it actually go far enough? No air burst before actually hitting the location he needs. It's going to be Batulins on the off angle here. A finish off on Lou. Do they find an opportunity here against them? I don't think they know exactly on Batulins' angle, but they do certainly know on Spiro's. Here it comes.
Wait. Oh, I thought they hadn't added mortars to competitive yet.
Well, none of the pros want it, and well, yeah, they're. Oh my!
He just keeps on going. I mean, no fairness, when you're in that dip, he's like, guys, give me a nade. I got the angle down. Give me a nade. I know how to find them. Everyone is running over, or maybe they just want to do it themselves. He's like,
yes.
So
my turn.
Ein Unterhandgranat, and then that's all. I don't know what I'm saying. I was just trying to make an impression.
Oh my!
Welcome to Mortars.
Welcome to our new patch report, where we'd like to introduce the exciting changes coming your way in update 24.1. One of our main goals this update is to allow for a wider variety of gameplay based on both individual skills and teamwork. Let's start with tactical gear. We aim to elevate it from optional to an indispensable part of your arsenal. To achieve this, we're adding tactical gear crates to your inventory at the start of each game. Inside these crates, you'll find a variety of tactical gear to choose from, which once chosen will be equipped to the 6th tactical gear exclusive slot in your inventory. Keep in mind, however, that once equipped, the tactical gear you chose will be with you until the end of the match. Wondering what happens to it upon death or recall? Or what about the world spawn tactical gear? All of these answers can be found in our new patch notes. Meanwhile, we're also enhancing the usability of repair kits by combining them into a single versatile item that can repair helmets, vests, and vehicles. The revamped repair kit comes with 10 uses and also introduces a new feature the ability to detach tires and attach them to the vehicle of your choice. So gear up and remember, a well-oiled vehicle and the spare tire could be the difference between a chicken dinner and becoming the enemy's main course. Vikendi also hasn't been left out of our update plans. We've made some changes to address areas where players have struggled the most by adding some extra covers and ridges. Additionally, we've made improvements to the Blizzard Zone, cable cars, crowbar interactions, and comeback VR features based on your valuable feedback. We've got more exciting news. Prepare to put your skills to the test, as Vikendi will be joining the rank pool in the new rank Season 24. To spice things up, we've also added jammer packs and mortars to the rank mode. Also, before you head out, don't miss our new Survivor Pass, Splash Royale, and many more exciting updates included in patch 24.1. Make sure to check out the patch notes for all the details. And we'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome back here to the PGS2 EMEA qualifiers desk here. I'm joined by Toby and Saga. And guys, we have 2 more games to go to decide the top 8 teams that are going straight to the finals. Is going to be playing from Friday in next weekend. And it is really, really close. And we're in for some really exciting matches here, Saga.
100%, and well, there's only 2 left to go, and if today is anything to go by, you are 100% right, Toby. This is going down to the final game, regardless of who it's going to be that's competing for that final spot. Maybe even potentially if Exalt can pick up a win in this penultimate game, they could throw their name in the mix as a late candidate as well, but there's going to be so much riding on this next couple of hours.
And even of what those 8 teams are, Toby, we are already seeing kind of what are the teams that we're expecting to do well in the lower bracket. If it's Foot, if it's Twisted Minds, they are going to be absolutely dominating in the lower bracket and go through with ease.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to imagine, but then again, we have seen it before where those teams that, they made lower bracket, but it's no problem, they're going to be fine, run into some of these teams where maybe they don't really know what to expect from them, and they actually have a hard time. Not saying that it's, very unlikely for either Foot or Twisted Mind, should they not qualify, to then, make it through from lower bracket. Just saying that we've seen it before, where some of those teams that we expect to plow through the lower bracket actually have a pretty hard time because the game is completely different.
Yeah, and I remember a clip from BBL tweeted, alright, we go lower bracket, it's just extra training. And if you could plan that, if you could have that extra training in the lower bracket, that would be the best training you could have, because it's better quality than the scrims are. So if you could guarantee yourself that you're going to go to the finals by playing the lower bracket, like BBL kind of did in one of the last tournaments, then of course that's what you want to do, right, Saga?
Not a million miles away from getting the run back. Either is BBL. They're 5 points clear of Twisted Minds in 8th place, who again only 10 points ahead of Foot Esports. So there is still plenty left to be decided, and we've got 2 more games to decide it all.
We got 2 more games to decide, and it is PGS2 here in EMEA qualifiers going on. I'm super excited to be here along with you guys, and of course it's going to be 2 more Wrangle games. We just had an exciting one. I gotta say, I love the kind of open endings, as you guys pointing out. The question is, are we going to get more? Are we going to get more military? Not sure. It's not jinxing it. I would love to see a Stalva ending. That's the big one for me. But guys, of course, PGS2 here for Gamers 8 in August. We're going to be going to PGS2 there. I was there last year and it was absolute pressure, but it was 50 degrees hot here. It was crazy. So you got to bring your shorts if you go.
An open ending game. Maybe it could also be fun with a Starboy ending. Maybe, what about a military? And it's like, you can't just predict all the areas of the map. That's not the, guys, I predicted the circle. If you just say every single spot there is on the map. But with that said, Saga, you can only mention one. Where would you like to see this next game go?
Tell you, first of all, I'd say I would like to not go to Riyadh in 50-degree heat. I am ginger. I would melt, so good luck. Whoever's going over there, man, it will be pretty disgusting. But given the flight path that we have, I'll tell you what, there's one set of fields that we haven't really given any attention to. The eastern side of Yasnaya would be an interesting one. Plus, that would give Exalt a pretty solid shot at getting some priority spots for themselves. And that would just add an extra name into the mix if they were able to pick up that dub and make that final game all the more exciting.
You are not wrong. That would make things pretty damn interesting, that's for sure. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities as we wait a little 30 seconds longer for that first circle to pop. After all, wouldn't be complaining about that circle shift either, but their run for top 8 is that much more difficult. So they pretty much need, like, back-to-back, not just decent, but pretty damn solid games if they want to make their way all the way up into the top 8 echelon of this one. We'll see now. 8 seconds to go. Where is this first circle going to take us?
Looking actually over towards Hospital, it looks like Smokewall are just using Foot Esports and the fact that they're kind of on the precipice, just forcing them back and taking away some spot just from underneath them. They were maybe considering a contest, but given their position in the standings, they thought better of it. But thankfully, It's got them an okay spot in the zone, pretty similar, in fact, to what we saw in the previous game. Slightly more north, slightly more west, so a little bit more of a possibility that maybe we'll see some radio terror action this game.
Looking at the leaderboard right now, with 2 games to play, I mean, if you're Na'Vi, if you're in Tropic and you die early in this one, and I don't even want to say the stars align, because it doesn't even take that much for it to happen, but just a few teams rack up a somewhat decent game, all of a sudden you're the team on the cusp of not qualifying, and that's falling from top 4 and down. But because that 70-point kind of club, as you've called it, is so close, as we're seeing right now, it's really, I mean, it's really impossible to call who is going to be the team sat in that 8th place spot, with Foot coming off of a win and us knowing how well they tend to play when the momentum gets going. It's just going to make it that much more entertaining here for the next, or final 2, I should say, games of the upper bracket.
To imagine how much pressure you would be feeling if this was the grand finals and it was this close and all of the PGC points and the PCS slots were on the line. And I mean, I think back to PEC Spring, it was only 2 points that decided whether or not it was going to be Ascend or Exalt who we were sending to the PGS 1.
And it decided it in the final 30 seconds of the game too. So.
Yeah, literally the last couple of kills. So,
it's tricky, man. It is tricky.
I'll be honest, you know, there's a lot where sometimes, even if you've been casting for a while, nerves do appear, but I'll tell you what, it's got to be much worse on the behind of the PCs that those guys are playing at.
Oh, yeah.
I'll stay here any day. You know what? After all, is this the first time we haven't seen them make like a 19-kilometer rotation? They're going direct. They're just taking the emergency pickup. They finally found one, Toby. They were desperate in the previous matchup, and they've got one right off the bat.
Question now becomes, where are they planning on going with it? Because they're going to be coming in very early. That usually is, I mean, for the little sample size that we do have of emergency pickups being used very early on, that's where teams punish split positions. Whether it be Gatka, whether it be towards the west a bit, you know that teams aren't anticipating a full-on pull-up, especially not from parachutes this early on in the game. So if you aren't ready for it and your team currently still somewhat split looting around the center of the map, you might get caught by surprise by the likes of After All coming full speed forward towards you.
And also be caught out by a nasty surprise as Foot is not happy that Smokewall has tried to make the best of the situation that Foot finds himself in and creep their way into Hospital, and that is just instant retribution, double headshot, almost at the same in-game tick. Shipless never stood a chance.
Nothing he could do in order to try and regroup. Foot Esports knew exactly where and when they were playing this one from, and made them pay for it.
Already got themselves a little bit of a split as well. Kasu was over towards the southeast, maybe just poking his head around what is a bit of a split from Entropic, so had his attention turned elsewhere, did not spot the push from Foot Esports, and that is 1 point secured already for Foot. 9-point gap.
That's Foot out hunting, right? That's Foot now feeling it, saying, you know what, it's actually within reach. We could actually go out and do this. Let's just keep the momentum up, and we do so by going straight back into fighting as soon as we came out of the previous one. In the meantime, After All, are they going north, George? Yeah, it seems like they might be. I mean, I guess it's pretty safe considering how the plane path was and the fact that no one's really gonna be, I mean, or expected to be around there at this point in the game. So, North George, grab a vehicle or two and wrap south. Not exactly the worst play.
Hopefully they'll still have a couple of cars there, because if After All can't make their coaster rotate, I think they'll just have a mental breakdown, not know what to do with themselves. So hopefully they'll find a car there and have the opportunity. Solo, full send, style points for sure. That didn't really stick the landing for Sancho. And I don't think he's getting a boost to flip that over, but hey, at least they've got another car.
It's flippable, I'd say. It seems like there's a bit of a slant. You can maybe, if you bring a shovel as well, dig down underneath on the other side. And well, let's see Bumble if he can flip that one over. Seems like that's what he's going for. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1, and a boop. And now it's just even more upside down. There you go, Bumble.
Yeah,
Good job. Let's just stay with this for a second. See if you can... And
Sancho just clapping him is the best thing I've seen all day. Actually, you know what?
We don't get enough emotes.
Sancho clapping.
And now he's gonna. Oh, imagine if he actually ruined that one too. We don't get enough emote use in PUBG. I feel like it's here for the sake of BM and having fun with it, but we don't see it utilized enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some pretty highlight moments of full teams doing some of the victory dances in in-game lobbies that occasionally get flashed up, but no, that was some pretty good mechanical performance from Sancho there from Solo. I'd give him an extra point for that if it was up to me, but unfortunately it isn't. So well, similar zone to the previous game, as we've already mentioned, but things have gone a little different in terms of where teams are positioned. Ascend no longer holding down the area by chopsticks. Na'Vi actually beat them to it and stole that away for themselves. Nobody in Gatka itself, and Tropic just split around it, so that is an entirely free area that DA has opted not to occupy, because also Everest is free, so they've got 2 players up there too.
Yeah, it's, again, I mean, very similar circle, a little further north than the previous game, but as I was alluding to he also flipped. I mean, he's from the UK. We went over this yesterday.
Yeah, what was it we had?
First it was Fex who couldn't drive, then Michael couldn't drive, and now I'm just putting the dots together, and even though James owns a cool car and all that, he probably doesn't know how to drive either. It's just you know,
Polish license, I think he's okay.
UK people and cars, man, they don't know how to do it. Maybe it's because you can't go UK mode in this game, where the steering wheel comes on the right side of the vehicle. He's full committing. I'm gonna stay here regardless of what happens. I'm just gonna using the hill, and there you go.
Look, it's a successful flip, but there was no teammate there to clap it, so it just wasn't as impressive, really.
Ooh.
But at the very least...
no corrective shooting in the air. You know what? That's vehicle clapping.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's as best as they come.
Fully understandable that nobody else from FaZe wants to get in Fex's vehicle. I've been there, buddy. I'm also a UK driver. Don't worry about it. BBL making an appearance now from up to the north. Severny, they're crossing over the river, and they're going to find the crates nice and uncontested for them. And actually doing a little bit of scouting towards Everest will reveal that there's some free space towards the eastern side of that, should they wish to do some further scouting as well.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to go quiet for a while now. I mean, with obviously FaZe coming in from the southern side. Outside of that, I think it's definitely going to quiet down a bit. Everyone is waiting for another 35 seconds to see where the next circle is going to take us. And because everyone is currently sat pretty comfortably inside the circle, we don't really have a reason for anyone to use until I should say they know they're going to be forced to.
20 seconds until we get a bit of a better indication of exactly how the game will be panning out. Phase 2 will tell us a lot, and will tell these teams whether or not their premonition and positioning in phase number 1 was on point or not. Would you imagine it's going to go back for an exact repeat of
Surprise!
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah.
They're going to fall back for a bit of a regroup. And again, very similar settings, but the team's positioning is extremely different. Foot Esports this time, all the way on the northwestern side of the zone. They were on South Pachinki Hill, and not too far after this in the previous game. So that is one major difference that could have a lot of impact in the overall standings.
Also, I love how Howl, when they saw that shift, they're like, you know what, you ever won, almost won, from down there before? Let's just instantly send all 4 into that exact spot. Because now that we know it's free real estate, we might as well claim it as early as possible. And they will indeed be able to get it for themselves. You can see Gustav running up on foot, trying to scout further forward, but he will soon find out that is all occupied.
Yeah. Not the worst thing in the world for Yepa either, though, to have lost that position, because they've backfilled and claimed where the Woo were in the game before this.
Yeah.
And they picked up 10 points from that game. And, if Yepa can do that, then they'll be more than happy again. It's very, very unlikely that they're going to be able to do enough to get into the top 8 with just these 2 games to go. But, again, every point that you can get on the board, every little bit of confidence that you can inject into your veins before you go into the lower bracket is going to be crucial for any of these teams, particularly those that don't have that top-level experience to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. And again, as we mentioned, there are some pretty hungry teams sat further down the or in the lower bracket waiting, and while you've had the pleasure of playing, it's not like the lower bracket teams haven't been sat here watching what's unfolded, so they will have almost as much info to go off of as you will have coming into the lower bracket. Flip! Well, he wasn't long for this world. Out of the vehicle he falls as he's taken down, and Yepa racks up a much needed point.
The big difference, Na'Vi was not in the bowl this time, so BBL gets a chance to play the game. For the most part, 75% of the squad will successfully make it. And, well, we'll see exactly how long it will last them. The zone didn't last all that long on this bowl in the previous matchup, but some things stay the same across games, and Beamy has an AWM again. I don't know who keeps airdropping this man the biggest bolt in the game, but, hey, we'll take it if he can hit the headshots.
Now we just need to see him get kills with it.
Yeah.
Yeah? I know that he got them on Miramar, but in the Wrangle game he didn't, so I'm just calling him out for that.
They got another onto a smoke wall at the very least.
True.
Beamy saved a bullet, if anything, just let his teammates do the shooting instead. Now they've got to make their move in, but unfortunately, Afteralt have crept their way up on top of Everest ahead of them, and that is a big solid wall that they're going to have to try and get through.
Did they just pop one more?
They got it again.
James used one just a second ago, and now they're using one more. But again, it's perfect time. You always want to pop them right on, and that's something that FaZe has already, if not perfected, then gotten close to the timing of when to deploy these. Because if you can do it, if you can time it with the new circle popping, so that you can detach just before the plane is on you as the new circle pops, kind of similarly to how people tend to get in vehicles right before the new circle pops and kind of accelerate so they're on the go as soon as the new circle pops should it go away from them. It goes up towards the north, expect
Devin got completely obliterated. Now the smokes is the only thing that's going to separate these two teams, unless a potential third-party shooter comes in and tries a rebreach anywhere else. Wouldn't be recommendable to go in between the two. And actually Na'Vi is sending Uber out to get some presence towards this, maybe get a peek over the top, look for a possible flush, but won't find one for now. So FaZe should be able to grab the revives. Howl in the dip. Tough.
I mean, they're going to be chilling for a little bit longer. Still, I mean, the fact that DA didn't regroup. We talked about them on Miramar, how they do these faulty splits, and how, yes, today and yesterday, for parts of it, it's kind of worked out for them, but this time around, just not the case at all. Yeah. I would have really wanted to see them instantly regroup, whether it be on Gatka or up and down, or whatever you want to call the compound that After All took from them. Just regroup on it and take the fight 4v4. And there you go, more parachutes being popped. Or emergency pickups, I should say, as the hot air balloon flies to the sky. And that's now with shots being fired towards Millman. I think he's going to think twice about jumping out into that emergency pickup.
Now, Quizzy doing some forward scouting as Wu mounting up in the vehicles, maybe getting ready to make another attempt at playing the same shack that eventually cost them their life in the game prior.
Smoke wall, no reason for them to, holy moly, Voldemort through the smoke and all. Finds the headshot, probably more for pre-fire, as you can see here as well. Hearing the footsteps inside, kind of trying to calculate the movement. Able to connect one, but didn't get more of it. And now backing off, I think that's the wise play.
Ace might be in an awkward spot here as the Wu is starting to make a bit of a wrap around the southern side of the zone. Actually, maybe just opening themselves a little bit of a path as Uber still just looking up on that rooftop, looking to get an angle into where FaZe are currently being pushed on by Howl. He's been sat down, but the Wu's wrap around the south means that any push to follow that up from Ascend is gonna have to be paused for the time being. And full third-party action can resume for Na'Vi as FaZe will be pushed on by the Howl.
We'll see if they opt to go for it or not. In the meantime, Wu trying to pull up an Ascent. Not gonna happen, my friends. As they take 3 instantly. Quizzy, the Protector, does manage to take down Killdeck. So a little bit of damage being done in return, but not the outcome they were hoping for, trying to make this play forward.
11 hit points left. I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be surviving this one. He's going to have to turn back around, wrap the way that he came from, and there's a good reason that they came away from this side of the zone. He's also just forced Ascend into making another wild wrap rotation of their own. And a combination of Nailup and Dante will sit down most of the squad. Brick's the last man standing. He's had to hop out of the vehicle. He's just lurking across the field, just off the right-hand side of the screen, creeping up towards question mark now.
And now up towards the northeast, we're having a very similar situation of Foot Esports, Twisted Minds, and Afterall fighting one another. These games today have just been all over the place. Phase 4, 42 players alive only now, and I could imagine that number is going to decrease heavily within the next 10-15 seconds, depending on how the fight unfolds up towards that northeast. Smoke wall will fall, 14th place for them. Nothing going today here either so far, with just 16 points accumulated over 11 games.
Actually, Entropic have enough control of the northwestern side of the zone that they can influence a lot more than it might look at first glance. I mean, Brexco is probably not long for this world. It may be Nailep who picks him off, as they already did take down a teammate. It will be with the SKS. He couldn't quite creep into the compound of QM to get the damage done, but at the same time, Evas is up on slight high ground, watching over that 3-team engagement up to the north, but there's very little that can be done to prevent this push coming through now. BBL will finally have to defend their bowl as the push from FaZe is signaled. The smokes are out. There's grenades there to respond.
Yeah, I think once these smokes fade, it's going to be very hard for FaZe to do anything, and especially now with the first nade coming through, they're just going to keep spamming them, waiting for the kills to follow. One denied, not going to happen. Second time around, though, as Michael sends it in. That's all of FaZe down in 12th place. And now BBL here in the vehicles from Na'Vi might just be perfect timing to pick up one here, but no. Backing off themselves because they know they have a rotation yet to be made. Are they wrapping around into the ball again?
Oh, no. The flip
Smash
reverse.
Yeah, exactly. The Uno reverse card, and who pulls up on who? Smash, though. Ready. Finds the first, gets the vehicle in the face, and falls down because of it. Now one more down as Howl enjoys a piece of this one, too. Michael, all on his own. Won't be able to do much about this, though, as... Why not grant a little extra cover in the middle of absolutely nowhere? Just complete block off. Now, Michael goes full, but what a timing to get a crate off of that.
Could you imagine if example just threw a Molotov and hit the crate?
Or hit himself.
Oh my goodness, that would have been an all-time first. But a huge knock potentially coming from Schofield, actually, but wasn't quite converted as there was no real follow-up for BBL. It looked like Michael was maybe even on the way to try and loot some extra bullets from FaZe after wiping them out. He had about 20 left outside of his weapon. Wasn't really ideal, but just perfect timing from Na'Vi. A heads-up rotation into the bowl, and it is exactly a reversal of the previous game. They wipe out BBL as they make the move, although the result ends up the same. And now they actually have a solid position to try and hold back against Howl. A bit of help from Yeppa up to the north as well, and it looks like Howl's days in the upper bracket will be numbered.
Not a whole lot they can do trying to make their way out of there, unless if they pull off an absolutely insane, somewhat like, 30 kill win or 25 kill win next game. We have seen 222 kill wins from Twisted Minds and for esports earlier. But this
hold
time
on.
around, don't think that's going to happen. Yeppa trying to make a run on off. Going to be denied by the solo from Wu. Quizzy. Find the double. We'll see if we can get more of it. Spray comes through, but not enough to connect. The Spiro, though, does get the knock on one.
This is the last man standing of the squad that tried to push onto Ascend and failed, had to wrap all the way back around through the east, and Yeppa just was not ready for it at all. They'd already vacated, they'd already left the compound behind and made a move and just got backstabbed. Quizzy, I mean, it likely won't come to too much more for him. He's under a heavy watch from Twisted Minds up to the north, but he's done a whole lot of damage.
Sample finds Quizzy. His former teammate takes him out. Now, Foot Animal and after all, they know they have Foot Esports kind of outside their compound, but are they going to stick around to wait this one out? I feel like they have to take the fight to Foot Esports here.
Toby, there is a grand total of 0 players inside the phase 6 zone. That is just
no players.
Yep, so I get a feeling that there's going to be a lot of deaths very soon.
Yes, everyone forced to play it here as the open fields in the middle are absolutely treacherous. You know what? Right now, I think these players wish this was rice fields from Taco in the middle where you have ridge lines all over the place. They would have want that. So as much as you might hate the open fields in Taco, sometimes you wish you were there.
A-bales just don't hit the same sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, those little ridges in the rice fields are really good at flipping your cars over, but I mean, right now, car forts is about the best that anyone will be able to do in about 2 minutes' time. Anyone who's still left standing, that is, after a doozy grenades himself. Maybe denying a point from Entropic just for the flex of being above them in the top 8. I'm not sure that will remain the same by the end of this game. Regardless, they still have a solo with a compound. And he's giving his position away by putting in some shots. Mexi with a grenade to try and clean it up, as Navi will be the first to really make an entry into this phase 6 zone. And already they've got a kill on the board from it.
I like the slow approach here from Navi. Now, they are within vision from Entropic, so maybe a vehicle has to be parked a little differently, but overall this is a very, very smart, slow approach to now try and kind of hold out the teams coming out of Gatka. In the meantime, for esports need to do something from here, and losing Beamy very early on ain't exactly going to make things any easier. T-Bone is trying to do a wrap around on one side as Q with the balls from DA. Ooh, nope. AC tried to bring him back to safety, but they ain't going to have it either.
And huge engagement with a lot on the line. Foot really can't afford to lose this, especially as Twisted Minds are still alive with 4 up. I mean, best case scenario, they just pause this fight, wipe out Twisted Minds, and then go for it. But you really don't get that sort of option in a match of this caliber. So they're just going to have to take the loss of Beamy and try and make it work the old-fashioned way. Low ground it will have to be. And after all, with a smoke wall, have some reasonable cover from Foot Esports, but there's just nothing in front of them. It's just a vast open space, and nobody wants to be the first to enter it.
Exactly. Nobody wants to have to make that play. There's a trade in there, though, for the team daring to make the aggressive play forward. But for now, everyone's trying to play this one safe. And once again, Twisted Minds able to make their way. So they look at this, 8, 9, and 10. If we could just kill Entropic and Navi real quick, I mean, we couldn't write this up any better. Once again, it would be the 3 teams on the hunt able to rag up the much-needed points. And here comes Entropic, full speed forward, try and take it out. Navi on approach, gets one run over. No, actually, it is the other way around, and just like that, they're both taken out. And look at the points now, Saga. Foot, after all, Twisted Minds on the hunt.
The jump from Twisted Minds all the way to 6. Now BVL is the team on the chopping block. And Foot Esports, they've still got their work cut out for them, but Twisted Minds can breathe a sigh of relief. I don't think they know it just yet. Foot Esports, their job isn't done yet. They've still got to make their way in. And even with Bolty Boy Beamy down, T-Bone will be there to pick up the pieces. Klim cops one to the chest. I mean, T-Bone's got 2 bullets left in the ore. He doesn't have a chance but to be a Bolty Boy.
Yeah, ain't a whole lot he can do from that position. Maybe get a little bit of ammo from a friend, but I don't know if they have anything to spare. That's the issue. Let them have their shots with the DMRs for as long as they can. Issue is, as long as they can, it's only going to be for another 5 seconds because they have to push forward. Vart does have ammo, though. Vart has ammo, so you can spare a bit. This is insane. Foot and Twisted Minds top 2s in the previous game, and now right back in it once more. We said we needed to see a step up, and here indeed it is. Spiro able to find one from a distance as T-Bone falls, confirmed as well.
Such little space to work with. These bushes aren't providing enough cover, but it's actually enough for Foot to make a push forward. Ooh. And after all, gets swept aside. Foot Esports 5 points away from the top 8.
What a little game of revenge here. I mean, again, deny. Makes sense. 8C, 1v3, not a whole lot you can do. Don't give the point away to Twisted Minds. Not that they're going to be a competition, but Twisted Minds here out victorious. They have had today 2 second places in a row, now followed by a win. What a turnaround for the boys from Twisted Minds.
And strangely enough, I think that might just be enough to keep them safe for now. I don't think there's really much of a possibility that 3 teams are going to overtake, but Foot Esports again neck and neck with Twisted Minds. This time it's the same engagement at the end, but it goes the other way. If that had been a Foot Esports back-to-back dub, we would be looking at a team like BBL in the bottom 8, in the losers bracket, but that has not been the case. But you know what? You were damn right. It is going to come down to the final game. You called it early.
It is, it's just written that way. It always is the same as we once again take the fights to the open field. This game really is trying to bring these players into the worst areas of the map possible as many times as they possibly can within a day of PUBG.
Big flank from Quizzy as well, but again, there's not too much more that the Woo can do apart from stack up a few kills. I would have loved to see Evos in the background, had a VSS. I was hoping that we would see the VSS drive by, but we didn't. But what we did see was just as good. Foot Esports on the cusp, Martin. It's so tight.
Yeah, and as every time in these BO12 it comes down to the last game, and it gets every time more exciting here. And PBL once again finds himself in that kind of cutoff spot going into the last game. I hope they obviously, this Na'Vi pull-up though, Saga, was insane. Like the way that they saw that coming, they knew that they were fighting with FaZe in the kind of southern side of the chopsticks, and they just super smart play to rotate into the gutter and take on Smash.
Yeah, love to see it as well, just smacking him with the front of the vehicle. Why bother with guns? But no, it was a really heads-up play, gave them a solid position. It was just beyond that point, nobody had a solid position, and unfortunately they were one of the first to fall. But again, for Na'Vi, it's kind of fine. They're not really in the firing line just yet, but I don't think anyone's really all that safe.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like if Foot had a little bit more time here, Toby, or maybe 2 or 3 blue zone grenades, they could have lobbed it onto that one house that after all what it was in, and they could have gotten those kills easy on, and then they could have taken on the fight with Twisted Minds a little bit earlier.
I was surprised they didn't fully commit to either engaging their buildings or not. Like normally when you get control of the top part of that compound, you say either we wrap west around and try and make our own play happen further west, or we take the fight full on into the compound. It seemed like they were a little indecisive in that T-Bone was holding the flank while Beamy was actively peeking into it. I would have wished to see them just full commit to one decision. We know how deadly they are up close. Take full advantage of that against arguably a lesser team in this case, but they wanted to do a bit of both and therefore made it hard for them to really wrap around in the end.
Yeah, and another field leading here, Saga, and Twisted Minds played it perfectly. They took edge side control that they were not contested on, and then they could kind of slowly push their cars forward, take more and more space, and still stay 4 guys alive for a very long time.
Yeah, we didn't really see it all directly on the camera, but we saw a similar thing for what Na'Vi was doing. It was move the vehicles up towards a hay bale, whatever natural cover you can find, set up a folded shield, and just make do for the time being. Try and pick up a couple of kill points around you, and then just progressively move your way forward. But for Twisted Minds, they didn't have a team like Entropic that was coming out from Gatka to full send it into them and ruin their game at the very end. So they got away with it, but it really could have been disastrous if anyone was close enough with a nade.
All right, here the leaderboard for this match, the second last match of the day here. Twisted Minds 15, Foot 13, Na'Vi 13, and Tropic goes 11 after all stepping up. And yeah, it is going to be pretty damn close in the last game here, Toby.
It's going to be insanely close. No way around that. And where before maybe we were looking at 3 teams that could be, you know, like have their top 8 spot challenged. Now we're looking at maybe 4 or 5, depending on how this final match goes down. So very, very interesting. As we see here, tied between 7th and 8th, and Foot just 5 points out. But there's going to be, at least depending on what After All does, that 1 spot to fight for.
Yeah, Foot here, of course, the current team outside the top 8 saga. 75-75 DA, BBL. They're going to be looking at each other, staring down each other's throats here. And also, we got to remember, placement points is the first tiebreaker, and currently DA is on 28. So if it comes down to another tie between them, DA will come out on top.
You got a real MEA Mexican standoff between the 3 of them.
Okay.
With all 3 of the MEA orgs just on the cusp. Again, 5 points separating them. Only one will not be making it through to the grand finals directly, barring some exceptional circumstances like an After All 15 kill plus win, something like that could maybe throw a bit of an extra opportunity in there, but it's highly unlikely, and it really seems that for now it will be one of BBL, DA, or Foot that's going to be missing out, and it's going to be tragic for whoever it actually is.
Some Toughies level of pun there, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I giggled. Very happy I wasn't on camera because it made me ugly laugh a little bit too. But yeah, sure, this is going to be super close. I don't see After All coming in unless we see an insane game for them. So it's definitely going to come down to these 3 teams here, Toby.
And when we say 3, there is also a potential that all 3 of the teams have pretty decent games, and all of a sudden you're looking at the teams that are above them that could potentially fall should any of them get eliminated early on. I mean, 3 teams to get 5+ points in a game. Of course, always hard to predict in one specific match where it has to happen, but it wouldn't be the first time we see it.
It would be like Foot needing to win with kills, BBL and DA both top 4 with kills, and, you know, Question Mark or Twisted Minds with nothing. The stars would have to land here, Saga.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, we can fantasize about this all we want, but realistically, we're going to see BBL, DA, and Foot die within the first 4 minutes of the game, and then just 4v4 between FaZe Clan and Entropic. That doesn't really matter in the end, but it counts for bragging rights. That's probably more realistic, but I tell you what, we can hope for a very impactful endgame, because the one that we had at the end of PEC Spring, where it came down to literally the final kill of the tournament, was so unbelievably hype, and we can only hope to recreate that.
Yeah, and I gotta say here, Toby, how close our leaderboard is currently really talks to how, you know, our used to be mid-pack teams or teams that are behind, they have really caught up to all our big teams. It is really, you know, 6, 7, 8 teams that are extremely close to each other in terms of skill and consistency.
And I think a lot of that goes into no one gets invited to grand finals anymore. You gotta bring everyone in right from the start on these ones, and they're proving that these qualifier stages, these upper bracket, losers bracket, whatever we want to be in, stages are incredibly difficult to have to play through. And as we were talking about coming into yesterday's broadcast, hard to predict top 8, sure, but as you can see here, practically impossible for a reset coming into the grand finals to predict who will be top 2 by the end of this tournament.
All right, quick prediction, Saga. What team doesn't make it off Foot, BBL, and DA?
I'll tell you what, DA's 2-2 splits are a little over aggressive. I think they're getting punished in the early game, and they're going to
quick.
I would agree, but I also think this is a game where DA doesn't split because they know what's at the line. So I'm going to go BBL.
All right, that's cool. I gotta say, this is gonna be an extremely exciting match to watch here. We have just
Thank you so much. One more match left to play here in the top bracket. As you were saying, Saga, yes, you can win the upper bracket, but that essentially only creates for bragging rights, as nothing else really comes with it. We're going to full reset coming into the grand finals. No, the top 8 is where you want to be. And now we have that fun situation where does any of those really solidified teams go out to stir the pot now? Do they go out to mess things up for the other teams, or do they just let them play it on their own?
The real question would be, do any of the teams that are looking to make that cut, any of those MEA orgs have a reason to paint a target on the side of their heads. And do they have a favorable drop spot that somebody else might like? I mean, South George is pretty nice. I can't imagine that anyone's really going to be contesting BBL for drop spots overall, but I think, to be fair, it will just be a case of just play your own game and just really go for it. This is the final chance that you have to get direct qualification to the grand finals. Can't mess up now.
No, and as we kind of explained on the desk just before, let's just line it up for you one last time. Top 8 through DA, BBL tied at 75. Foot currently the team out, but they have had back-to-back really good games. A win followed by a second place. They are really, really looking strong here coming into the final wrangle of the day. And then we have over both of them Twisted and Question Mark, which for now definitely looking very, very solid. But if both DA, BBL and Foot get good games going, they aren't necessarily safe to be in both of them. One of them could potentially fall.
Big turnaround, actually, for Foot, considering their Erangel games on day one were an average of 3.5 points per game. So they've really picked their moment to come back to life and just solidify the fact that this is a team that was minutes away from making an appearance at PGS1, and then the PGC points leaderboard would look entirely different. Yeah, things could have been so different back in March if just one or two gunfights had gone the opposite way. But for now, all comes down to this final game to see whether or not they'll go directly to the grand finals. That we don't really doubt they're going to get to the grand finals regardless, but it would be nice to get there today.
Okay, let me ask another question. If we were to just focus on DA, BBL, and Foot Esports, not so much talking about who is least likely to qualify now, but who would have the hardest time of the three in lower bracket?
I think in lower bracket, where we talk about the unpredictability of some of the teams who maybe don't have the same experience, and splits will be very dangerous. Again, DA, even so far in this tournament, we've seen DA take a full send hot drop on the western side of military base. They, as much as they've improved and become a little more disciplined, they can still get drawn into some shenanigans, and there's going to be a whole lot of shenanigans in the lower bracket, and we've got some here as well.
I need to know how this happened. Why is Example here? And why is Gustav right next to him? I need to know what led to this kill. The worst thing is I don't know if I will ever know, but I guess Example was just running around there, and Chris is just biking across. You know, that was a perfect transition. Let's just go from that situation to a bike. Boink. I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah. That's really seems to sum up the fact that a lot of teams are very confident in the fact that they're not getting knocked out of the top 8.
True.
They're correct. No one's going to be dislodging Ascend. They're fully clear. They'd need what, 3 teams to get 25 plus point games. It's not going to happen. They're chilling.
Yeah, it's a pretty good place for them to sit right now. Question Mark. Again, I mean, they would really have to. I mean, not really. They would have to get a 0-point game here effectively, and also very specifically, 4 or 5 teams would need to have 10+ point games, which again, in a kind of roll of the dice, you need specific outcomes. It's very hard, but looking at the teams that need the points and look at how they've been playing today, still very possible.
Why is this happening, Toby?
Why are we? Is this APAC Pubg?
I think this is someone who smacked off in DMs and said, "Hey, meet me on Potato Hill, you dweeb."
Both of them, but here comes the follow-up. James with hip fire. SKS around the corner. We'll get one more, and this is just to all the people who are playing fantasy going, oh, you want minus points? Well, let's give them to you, because believe you me, a lot of people have, well, pretty much all FaZe players and most Na'Vi players on their teams too. So there you go. A lot of minus points being dashed out to anyone out there watching.
Actually, that's a good point. We must all be doing horribly because we've barely mentioned fantasy at all today. Normally we can't stop talking about.
I said from the start that I just don't. I've just dropped trying to be clever on fantasy because I can pick teams that on paper are phenomenal but then do nothing. And this is This tournament has not been any different.
Yeah, I am 0.06 points ahead of you, that is true. So.
Why are we...
just thought I'd double check while Na'Vi and FaZe just run it down at each other.
Yeah.
To talk about it a bit.
They want to... I mean, you know what? It's almost 10:30. They want to get up tomorrow. They want to chill. They want to get this over with. And for Uber, able to find Correxy there, it's going to leave this down to a 1v1. And maybe, just maybe, Fex has uninstalled the mortars early. Uber will now try and replicate that. And that one's going to bounce over the top and almost take him out. Not quite going to happen, though. He's now inside, and Fex will come out victorious with 1 HP. Because why not make it as close as possible? And on the backside of that, here are the piranhas in the water that have smelt the blood. Why not kill half the server in this plank compound?
Exhibit A of why DA is the team who might get drawn into some of the chaos in the lower bracket, where this kind of thing is probably going to be commonplace. Just seems like there's gunshots, so the MEA players just sort of gravitate towards them. DA thankfully have kept their distance. They're just putting in shots from afar, but Howl and Yeppa seem more than happy just to take this as TDM.
Yeah, I mean, for
just stuck in the middle now.
It's one of those, am I stuck with you or are you stuck with me? He doesn't have a shotgun yet, so I'd say he's still somewhat stuck. But even then, I mean, he has nothing to lose, and in all fairness, neither Yeppa or Howl really has a whole lot to gain. Unless if Howl does manage to pull off a 30-kill win here, then sure, that's doable. But I'm not even gonna fall into that.
Yeah. Come on now. Good little spray, but 2x Org didn't quite get it done this time around. Fex has become very quiet all of a sudden. Odomavesi has not forgot about him. But the Howl has said, actually forget about this. We're just going to back away. We've lost one. We got a kill. Fair trade. Fex, though, always going to try and get FaZe to 100.
Oh, gotta get those flushes. We know how much they need the points. Oh, nice angle from Medbay. We'll be able to get one confirmed. She's gonna run in and loot. Nope, now Exalt comes in, because why not? And gets themselves some extra points. What is this? Guys, stop it.
It's just
there are more compounds in this first circle than this one. You do not have to come here. This is, I mean, look, okay. If we were to look at the spiral effect of what has happened here, look at the south half of the map. There are effectively 6 players there. On the southern, and he got a flush with a pistol. Because why not?
Of course he did.
There are effectively 6 players. Make that 5. Make that 4 players on the southern half of the map. Please hard shift south. Please circle hard shift south. Because I mean, I said this there. If there's a team that tends to get a circle going their way or two, that would be them. So it wouldn't be out of the question.
Send is just begging for this to happen every game. They've got about 8 kilometers of free space. Metabay gets a grenade in the kitchen. Moloduct will just have to wait for it to go off before he finishes the push.
Who's the next team to push
and
this?
Finally, the TDM is at an end? Question mark.
Wait, no one is pushing
that way.
This?
Yeah, no. Howl have. Well, Schofield, all that remains of Howl, has decided that he's not going to get involved. It's just a full line. Everyone's to the north, apart from Ascend, and Chris, probably just on a bike, is just going to make his way in this direction and just come across these houses and just wonder what in the world happened here.
18 players down prior to the 10-minute mark, and Ascend, you know what? Please just pull up on this.
Yeah, they
just for the do it for the memes. The thing is, I'm not sure if they are exactly aware of where that fight went down. I mean, it's not exactly a prio position that teams tend to fight over early game, but who knows? Maybe they'll run into it. By mistake on purpose, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, Circle does shift over towards School. Twisted Mind's going to be sat very, very well in this one. DA as well in a good position. And Foot Esports, the team up towards the north, the team on the cusp, have to figure out how they're going to approach this. We're seeing the emergency pickup being lined up. Are they going to go for it, all of them? Maybe send a couple down with it? Or what are they planning on doing here?
actually have...
I think they're all going for it. After all doing the same thing. So more pickups being found this time around.
But where will they end up is the question. Are we all just going to have like a slightly delayed full hot drop on apps? Is Twisted Minds going to have to defend their honor once again from this position? Perfectix in the school by himself, so if that is the target of anyone's parachuting shenanigans, that might be a problem for Twisted Minds.
Well, why not scout the compound? Please just push the compound. I would really want for Ascent to push this compound, and then when they come down there, see their like 19 corpses and go, the actual...
Why are there so many cards here? They can't all be spawned.
Exactly. Twisted Minds, well, might as well install those flag cannons early as they try and take Foot out, who are dropping onto school. Wait, no. Are they? Yes, they are. Full speed forward into school they go. Twisted Minds trying to set up any sort of anti-aircraft possible. T-Bone knocked on arrival, and they now know who they're dealing with. Are they going to push this, or are they going to back off? Seems like Perfectix, at least for now, trying to get into a better position. They have grouped up here, but are they leaving? It seems like they might just be. They're giving Foot this position.
Yeah, they brought the backup over, they brought in the support just in case things were going to get a little hairy, but with the one knock that came through, Foot not looking to get overly aggressive. I mean, they can't really afford to get overly aggressive. Ascend absolutely can, and they're going to.
We totally needed one more team here. We could not just let it end with 5 teams. We needed a 6th. We needed one more team in this building. I just want like a panorama, not a panorama, what do you call it, like a cinematic fly-through from the observers now, where we just see all the crates in there. There's gotta be so many corpses in this building. And Schofield is still not done.
Yeah, Schofield's still killing off Exalt from down below.
What is this?
Man.
What is
Take
this?
the fight out of the Howl, but you can't take... Other way around.
Yeah.
Up on the roof. Not really required. Michael will get the job done. Fate will meet his fate. And Schofield will just have to sit back in his compound, fire some bolty shots, and be happy that at the very least the team that wiped out the rest of his team is now dead. But also Ascend stole some of their kills, so now he has to kill them as well. Vendetta fully secured.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want this circle to quadruple hard shift onto Ascent now, just so we can end the game in the compound. We would try and beat the Guinness World Record of how many players can die in the same building in a game of competitive PUBG. Please just hard shift southeast for the memes. I would be all for it.
Has to go away from the water, right? We're on Copium.
Oh my god!
Okay.
It actually went down there, and we didn't even have to shift away from water. It's a wow. Oh wait, yeah. This is
Eventually. Well, Twisted Minds will be going back to apps, and Foot have profited bigly from their emergency parachute directly onto the school. They did just about manage to swipe the revive, keep all 4 back alive. It was T-Bone that got originally knocked and was in a bit of a dangerous spot, and maybe got quite fortunate that BBL were actually dealing with a sneaky attempt at a push from Smoke Wall up towards the water tower, or likely would have been killed off. But this could be big, as Digital Athletics looking to make a move past apps. QF more than likely going to be lost, and they are 76 points, close to the cutoff.
That is a dangerous run through to try and make, knowing there's teams on the west side in those apartments, and the amount of time you have to spend traversing that field just makes it so damn easy for players to take you out. Liking this route much more, going a bit closer to Entropic maybe, but their ankles aren't good, and therefore the remaining 2 DA players should be able to cross over safely.
BBL on the move now. They've left Roadhog behind. Yeah, they're going a direct route, and
oh no,
it seems like we're doing it again. Oh, the kill feed T-Bone being... Where did
BBL
they go,
down?
Toby?
BBL down.
What happened?
The three teams fighting for points here, just running straight into one another. And Foot now set on one side. Spyro blows himself up. Not sure exactly what that was all about, but it just adds to the... what is it? I don't even know what the word for it is. Oddness, weirdness, strangeness that has become this match.
They call it the game sickness, I believe.
Yeah, that's another way to put it, I suppose.
Oh man, Lyron just, well, he got the final bullet on 2 players of BBL with a grand total of just about 70 damage, so they were already tagged up pretty heavily, but that's by far the worst case scenario for BBL to go out with 0 points, give the points over to a direct competitor. There's no way that they can do anything to overtake now. So all they can do is hope that Foot Esports get completely deleted, and for their position in school, that is very unlikely.
Yep, depending on, of course, where the next circle takes us. If we do go hard south, there might just be a change. Also, I like how after all, I mean, they were one of 2 teams to take the emergency pickup to the circle. They're now the only team in the blue. Just, I mean, sometimes you get sometimes you don't get the circle with the parachute in. Now let's see, 5 seconds to go until the next circle pops, and we're seeing Entropic in the meantime approach Ascent, because why not bring more people over to this compound, and Circle, well, keeps it in.
Within a couple of 100 meters, it's a stretch, but I suppose we'll count it. Evas gets added to the death total of the most haunted houses on a wrangle, and actually Entropic, they've backfilled the houses. They found at least 2 bodies and might be adding a 3rd as well, as Kilyakai gets double headshotted. Actually, that's a pretty sick spray from Lucarux. And well, Ascend have just had the rug fully swept out from under their feet, and now they have to push the compound again. And what do you know? If you look to the northwest,
oh, look at that solo! It's coming down here as well. We're gonna reach a point, Saga, where half the server has died in and around this compound in phase 4. This is stupid, but in a really, really, really fun way. Why not just put the M16 on burst and see what you can get with it? Brexco finds Mexi on the roof. As they now consider pushing further forward, they must have heard the shots fired from the other side. Does that force a send off, knowing there are only 2 left alive, or does that just make them eager for finding even more potential points? And also, Twisted Minds is shooting up in this direction, so we'll see if anything even wilder is going to happen off of this.
I mean, again, there is a solid 400 meters of empty space between this and any other team. It's just really just got a massive gravitational pull, it seems, this area. And Entropic are just holding it down inside the buildings again, just letting Solo put the damage onto Ascend as they try to wrap around the edge. Not getting overly aggressive, but there's so many bodies here. You can loot whatever you like.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this compound could use like at least 1 more team. Oh. And you know what? Why not bring it in?
Please.
We're seeing, no, they're actually flying straight down towards it. Woo, what are you doing? Just get out of here. Just get out of here already. We are already reaching half the server dead in that position. We don't need more. As much as I'm saying that, I really wish we get a lot more. In the meantime, Marco lopping nades on down, really wanting to solidify their top spot. And, well, so far they're doing it. After all, in trouble here.
A lot of trouble. They've got a shack to work with, and they get caught grenade in hand. Mitrelius doesn't even need to ADS the AK. Just hits both of them down, and that, again, might just not be great news for Foot. They were maybe hoping that a way would be opened up so that they would have an easier path to try and make a rotate into the zone. They're one of the few teams that does need to make a move. I'm actually opting to go the entirely different way. They're wrapping around the east, and oh no, Toby, what could possibly be on the east?
Yeah, a lot of players, and now they're going, I mean, technically the buildings are still in Beamy, though. Falls to blue. Vard has to continue further forward. Yeah. T-Bone needs to make the run on in now as well, and no, Spiro found 80. So Foot Esports thought that if we just wait for a sec, if we just let this one play out, we can move, and worst comes to worst, they were technically still in. But now they lose 2 because they tried to rotate out. I mean, of course, you don't necessarily want to sit in that role, but right now, as we're in placement points, obviously they don't necessarily have the exact numbers, but they just need 3 points to tie with BBL. It's
and if they're all placement points, then they'll tie the placement points as well.
Yeah.
Boy.
You just need to sit tight and wait this one out. And then it's going to be the team that had the best game, the latest one, which would be them. Ooh, that nade just showed. We'll see if the molly comes over. If it does anything, nope, not going to happen. You can't vault with your teammate on the back either, so they have to commit to the rest in this exact position. It seems like they will just be able to get in and help coming through from the one team that should not be helping them whatsoever. EA looking to try and see if they can find something. Vard falls. That's further forward, though. But the rest does come through. Now they can go for the next one. Good thing for them is that no one is really around. It's only Lou, and he's now forced to back off as he's burnt through all his utility.
Yeah, he just got the angle wrong on kind of guessing at where the revive was coming through, the smoke blocking the line of sight well enough. If he had just, I don't know, used some sort of godlike intuition and said they're probably right on the edge of the blue zone, bounced a nade off the wall, that would have been Foot eliminated, with Vard getting knocked over on the far side, but instead they do manage to maintain 3 players. I don't know if I'd say strong, but 3 players still standing for now, but I think they'd be better off just proning behind that wall and waiting for everyone else to kill each other.
Exactly. No, I mean, they're of course fully aware that BBL fell early. They knew they were going to be close. They only have a couple of points to make that 1 kill actually this game so far. So for Foot Esports, I think for now, as you're saying, just let those other teams fight one another and then take the next circle when it comes. In the meantime, Solo trying to make the run through the open, but Twisted Minds are perfectly positioned inside the apartments to deal with, well, really the entire server from there.
How insane is it going to be that we're going to have likely 5 teams on 90 plus points and not a single team hitting 100?
Well,
it's
that's
been
part of the reason
so
why, right?
perfectly balanced.
Yeah, it really has. No one
throughout.
able to separate themselves, and that's despite the fact that FaZe and Question Mark really did that yesterday.
Been a big turnaround for a lot of teams, and a lot of teams who desperately needed it have stepped up when the time was right, but it's Foot's turn to give it a shot. Pedal to the metal. They've got to get across this open field. They get a placement point as they do, and they just about get out of the line of sight of Twisted Minds in the apartments, but if they go too far, Smoke Wall will be there ready and waiting. But hold on a minute, DA's done it again. No way, they've just clapped a fright from behind, and they've bought Foot even more time.
Yep, and they aren't inside the circle, so this is going to have to be Foot Esports pushing forward. Surfy is going to make the play further down. Spots 1, spots 2. Who do you go for? Spots 8 takes him down instantly. As well, now they're aware that the threat is up close in the hills. Question Mark still on the southern side. Nade's coming through. Vard, though, instantly. Not instantly, but is there with the response to take him down. Should be able to go for the rest here as well, but now comes Twisted Minds. They want to backfill this fight.
Big from Vard. He had the grenade. He was actually priming it to throw it into the smoke where the rest of Smoke Wall were lurking. But as soon as the shot came through, he switched up his attention and actually is dodging out on the spray long enough that T-Bone can come in from long distance. The SLR taps will get just about enough damage through, but Molotov onto Vard. HC somehow dodges out of it. They can get the revives. They can keep going. How long can they keep this up?
Needs 2 more points, and T-Bone is in trouble. Can't get to safety. Touchdown behind the vehicle. He is restable, but outside the circle, and again, not in just yet. 2 more points needed for the tie. Other teams can help them out with team eliminations, but Foot Esports forced to run off here. They simply cannot risk it.
Got no vehicles left. That was down on the low ground, but they've got another placement point on the board. They're tied on points once again. Any single point for Foot Esports from this point on, and they're going to the grand finals and sending BBL into the depths of lower bracket where Clib can get all the practice he wants.
Insanely close for these 2 teams. One falls in return between Twisted Minds and DA as they take the battle to one another. And you can see here, Foot Esports seeing this in the kill feed, they just want to last. They just want to outlast their position. They do not want to be in the crosshairs of anyone right now. And if they can wait it out just a little while longer, they should be able to surpass. Because you'd have to imagine that this is going to be a team eliminated in just a second's time.
Don't even want to peek out to steal away a flush. There's so many available in front of them, but they just do not want to risk giving up a knock. Gonna trust in Batulin to land this grenade on Metrelius.
Nope.
He didn't.
Not gonna happen. You can't see him behind that little back stack either. In the meantime, though, Batulin finds one, finds the second as well. Crucial shot connected. Vard's got a knock on Skatsu as well. So we'll see if he can get the confirm on that one. Now Vard falls in return. So just wait a moment. There's been no flush confirmed. I mean, if they can get the rest here, they're in trouble. And Foot eliminated. But does the kill come through, or do they get the rest onto him? They do. If the rest comes through, they are safe. The point doesn't go there, and that is going to be BBL through on the tie.
Wow. A game of literally inches. It really could not have been closer for Foot Esports. Missing out on a tiebreaker. So unfortunate. But you know what a great consolation prize would be? If Smokewall, all the way down in 16th place, were to have a 3v1v1v1 and a great chance to pick up a win to round out the upper bracket.
We'll have to wait until after the game is over to be completely sure that everything is as written. But right now, this side does have a BBL ahead of them in the meantime. Question mark. I mean, clean-up duty for them, really. Try and pushing on through this one. And then you have Smokewall, a team with little to gain off of this, able to lob a good nade forward, taking out Question mark. And now, Sparrow against Smokewall for the win in the final match of the day. The final match of this upper bracket. But my eyes are still on that tie. I'm not sure how... I like to try and do math on this, but I'm not gonna, because they got 5th. They got 5th, right? So they're gonna tie in placement points too.
I don't trust myself to be correct in my assessment, so I'm gonna
wait and see. I'm gonna let the admins. Yeah. I'm gonna wait. Let them do it, but I'm not 100% that what we're seeing here is the final outcome of this. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let the admins call it.
Pyro has a chance to be the hero that could drag Twisted Minds into first place with over 100 points if he can pick up this clutch. Would be kind of like Big Brother beating up Little Brother after they demand a turn on the Xbox. Say, this is our time for some glory. Spyro could be the one to put it right back down.
See if he can do anything here. 42 bullets in the chamber. Probably won't get time to reload once he starts shooting, depending on the position he's got to work with. But 1v3, I mean, against anyone it's going to be tough, if not near impossible. But if there's one to do it, let's see if it can be Spyro. Nate lobbed on over. Kazoo, half HP down. But that also just reveals the position so much more.
Read on Spyro's position has been getting steadily worse. The Fright had it originally just overthrew the grenade at this location and now thinks maybe he's on the next tree behind. Smokewall spreading out a little bit. He does have some opportunities to find 1v1s.
So quiet. I love the fact that Smokewall actually running out on the hunt here. They know it's a 3v1, but they do not want to throw it. While, of course, their lower bracket journey is guaranteed regardless of the win here. They still want to come up with a win at least to bring some, or try to bring some momentum into tomorrow's games.
Yeah, it's a big swing of confidence if you pick up a win against the legend of the game like Spyro.
There you go.
You put him down and say, you know what, we might not have had the best of times in the upper bracket, but if we can do this, then the lower bracket should be a piece of cake for Smokewall.
Yeah, solid play coming through for them in the end. Didn't have to do much to begin with, but once half the server had killed themselves in the village or in the compound down the southern side, they did manage to fend off against all the threats coming close, effectively, potentially putting a stop to the Foot Esports race for top 8. Again, gonna have to wait and see with the admins exactly how it's gonna line up. But as it stands right now, it's BBL in and Foot out.
I'm thinking about it. The way that all of the fighting went down in the houses, I would have believed you if you told me it was like Yepper and Howl that started it off, but the fact that it was FaZe and Na'Vi was the first to engage in that compound, and it just drew everybody else in towards it, save from a merry few who actually had to play the game a little bit seriously. And unfortunately for Foot, they tried their hardest. They really put blood, sweat and tears into every step of the way. Could not quite make it work. Probably. We'll have to wait for confirmation. Martin, give us the answers.
Welcome. I can tell you the answers, but I actually also want to wait. I found the rule book,
Yep,
or
I
got
did
the rule
too.
book handed to me, and it looks like it's going to come down to the recent match performance, obviously, which would make put into that 8th spot instead of BBL, and that makes Clip come back to March, and he's going to have to go lower bracket with Go. More Praxis, thank you so much. But yeah, it's gonna be super exciting. Of course, it looks like it, but let's wait for the final answer. What an exciting match here! What a game 6 of scrims kind of feeling it to begin with. Everything, Saga.
It was definitely a game 6. It was one of the game 6s of all time for sure. I think there was a little bit of a hint there that a lot of these teams knew that there was no possibility for them to either make the top 8 or be knocked out of the top 8, and they played like it as well. But the teams that were still kind of on that cusp, on that precipice, and even Twisted Minds, who weren't really in any danger, but they just wanted to dominate the lobby, they almost made it to first place off that game.
Yeah, exactly. And this, of course, you know, you guys said that half of the server almost died within the vicinity of this compound here, Toby. It was pretty fun to see, though. I gotta say, you were shaking your head. You think it's dumb, but I think it's funny that, you know, Navi and FaZe, they find each other and they're like, all right, we're both top 8. Let's kill each other. That makes it like all the other teams have less impact on what happens, so they have to fight for the point even more.
Yeah, at least none of the teams that actually had something to lose or gain went to this compound just to see themselves die. That's true. We had DA, Foot Esports, and BBL try to
potansiyelinin yüksek olduğunu söyleyebiliriz.